All right, hello. So this is Vibe Coding a Language. I'm working on implish, which I've worked on a little bit in this channel before. And now I'm going to show you what I've got. So if you go to implish.org, there's now a REPL here. So you can, to the tiny cam. So you can log in or you don't have to log in, you can just go there. And whatever the latest version of the system is, as long as I update the code, it'll work. So you can do a couple things now. You can read from a website. So first of all, it runs in the browser. Second, you're able to make HTTP requests. There's no way to set up cookies or anything like that yet. Or headers or anything. You can't ask for JSON, but you can say, okay, let's echo that. And so you can see output of that. We can type words to see what words we have. Looks like I don't have anything that parses the JSON yet, so bad for me. But it's pretty easy to add stuff, especially when you have Claude do it. So I've been using I've been using Claude, the AI tool, to generate much of the interpreter. I've written a lot of this by hand, but when it comes to, I'll show you how this works real quick. Basically, we've got the core logic is kind of like lays out the types. And I've refactored that a little bit. First of all, I think since the last time I did this video, I ported it all to TypeScript, or I had Claude ported all to TypeScript from JavaScript. So I've got types on everything. I've cleaned up the types a little bit, but now basically there's, we've got different kinds of types. These are the types that are in the system right now. So we've got like a top level container. Most of these are like tags for symbols. So we've got errors, separators. These are things that are like kind of syntactic or like internals to this. We've got integers, numbers, strings, integers, floats, strings, multi-line strings, which is just a tag. On a string, a symbol is just a tag on a string. We've got lists, and then lists have different varieties of things. It doesn't matter. Basically, it's a very simple language. There's going to be like some JSON kind of stuff, so we need like a dictionary or a map in here. And that's basically it. And then there's functions, so either JavaScript defined functions or implish functions, so user defined. There's nil, and then there's vectors of these, vector of ints and numbers. I'm kind of rambling. It's better to just show it. So so you can say something like this. You got to put a space here at the moment. That gives you this. So bang is the K-like language, or the K-like operator to give you a range. And the way this works now, if you want to say like times 2, so I want this to give me like odd numbers. Right, so I want to like multiply that by 2, multiply this list by 2, and then add 1. And right now, if you do this, this is going to count to 20 instead. Because what's happening is, like, it says, okay, I want to do a range. But then it says, well, okay, that the argument is 10. But then it looks ahead to see if like I'm modifying that argument in any way. And I think that was a mistake. That was a design mistake. So compensate that, rather than changing the precedence, I experimented with this, which is kind of cool. I kind of like it. So you can put a comma here to end that. And so this will say like, range 10, comma, times 2, comma, plus 1. And that works. And I kind of like it. I think it's kind of cool. Like no other language does this, but I also think no other language does it because it's a bad choice, right? Like it's just like I kind of suspect that if you look back at I want to say like what's that called, that book that Bertrand Russell wrote, Principia, the Principia Mathematica. I think they used like a weird notation like this because like they didn't, we hadn't I don't think formal grammars had come really around until like after that work. and they had like a weird, notation where you had like, I don't know if they use this particular rule, but they didn't use parentheses, basically, is what I was getting at. I think I could be wrong. And I haven't read that book because it's a giant book, but my understanding is they're the old way of writing like math was a little bit weird, and it had to have these different endings. And I think I kind of reinvented that wheel, and I couldn't find like another modern language that did, and I didn't verify that. I could be confused about one. Anyway, it's kind of neat, but like why? Why do you want to do this everywhere? Probably not. So that's the first thing I want to fix. So I actually have a version of this running locally. So we go to my Mac is called Mentalk after the Great Mind Taker. Oh, it's not running. So let's fix that. So I'm modeling this off a language called a couple languages. Red is I'm not going to show it. It's a cool language. Google Red language. Qneo or Qnile, I believe it's called, which is this one. And so here you say tell 10 times 2 plus 1, or count, which will start with a 1, so you lose one of the one of the odd numbers. So you can see that it has that left to right kind of evaluation. All right, they both implish also has left-right evaluation, but it has this precedence rule that's different, so that the left-right is happening for all of this, and then it's being passed to count. I don't know. All right, so enough of that. Let's fire up go to Mentalk. We have an interpreter, bang 10, right? And now we'll just run Claude in here. So there's a couple of these. I like Claude, and I'll show you why in a minute. Because we're going to put it into plan mode, and we're going to say, so it has some files in the system that know about, like there's Claude here. It's taken notes like as it works, so it has all these notes about how the system works and how the code works, and so rather than trying to explain the whole system to it, it already knows. Oh, and also I was going to run the byte here. If I run byte, then this should run here, and boom, now I have the interpreter locally. So this is running on my local computer, and you can check this out yourself if you want. Go to Git, follow this link right here. Go to the GitHub repository, and you can also get there from implish.org, and you can get this code here. And it also has, in addition to the byte server, which byte is a JavaScript framework for running, simple sites and whatnot, so that web server and live coding system. So as I change the code, it updates this site, or it'll refresh this code site. But also, there's also an MCP server. So an MCP server MCP is Model Context Protocol, and this is a tool that is basically a command line interface. So basically a REPL for the bot to use, for Claude to use, and it knows about this. So it's already installed, and if I type MCP, you can see that they're there. It's connected, and it's in interview details. What can I see? Tools. What tools does it have? It can eval some implish code. Load, I think, is to reload the system. I'm not sure. List words, so it can see what words it has, and it can inspect a word. I don't even know what that does. I don't know what it does because I'll show the definition value of a specific word in the implish environment. Okay. Okay. So maybe we could say, what does the implish word do? Bang do, right? Run login. All right. I have to do this. I didn't know I had to do that every time. Try that again. It didn't tell me to do that last time. Dragon. Quit. Yep, sweetie, what do you need? Okay, I'll be there in a little bit. I'm doing a video. Don't have a lot of time for this. I just want to show this. Okay, so now it. No, I don't want to do that. No, use the MCP server. That's weird. I don't know why it doesn't, like, I thought I granted all these permissions last time. Maybe I lost some of the config somehow. Oh, maybe I was working on a different machine last time. Yeah. I think I just didn't grant all this version of the thing. I think I was working on the live site. Okay, I see. So that's actually doing something internally. It's not giving me. I was hoping it would. I didn't write this. I asked it to generate an MCP server that it could talk to. Yeah, and actually it does describe it. Right, and that I don't believe that's documented in the code, right? But it's saying what it does, and it came up with these examples. But if we look at the tests do show up. I don't think it looked at the because I told it to look at this. And if I look at eval, this is where all the words are defined. Then we can find. Let me just find bang in here somewhere. Whoa, interesting. I would have expected that to I'll turn this on. But where is that defined? Oh, the implementation is imp eval. Okay, yeah, it is. 341. Oh, I see. So it's just part of this big blob of code, right? So they're not broken out. These were very short things, and then it's added a bunch of long stuff. I am not a fan of this organization here. I like this code. I don't like this blobby, code where you can't see everything at once. This is a table of mapping of little names to things, and if they're not all one-liners, they should be extracted. But I didn't write this code. Okay, so and in fact, I'm actively not doing this. So I wrote. So implish has a parser, and it can parse like strings like this, and you can say like A, B, C, right? And if you define A to be 10, and then you put a backtick here, then you can actually put you can interpolate that. So it's got like quoting and anti-quoting in there. This is kind of borrowed from Scheme. And the idea is that you have these mechanisms for like defining symbols, and then quoting a list, and then rather than interpreting it at one time, it's just like data that you can eventually evaluate. I don't think there's actually a thing that can you can say eval 1 plus 2, and that'll give you 3. Interesting. It actually gives you a false call. So I'm not exactly sure what that. This is an error. Whatever. I didn't look too closely at this. I know it's a bug. Somebody reported this bug. And in fact, if you try and take the type of this, or if you try and put this in parentheses, it gives you a completely weird error. I don't know. But like I said, I kind of hand wrote, well, not the parser, but the parser that matches this. Like, so when you look at this, sorry, if you take this and then you say echo XMLs, this, I wrote this but by hand. I wrote this parser that parses this kind of syntax and turns it into this thing that's a list of symbols, right? And if you put even like a plus sign in here, it's still a list of symbols. And you can actually put e times 3 in here, and again, that's a display error. That should be indented. You can see it starts a list here, then these are inside of it, and then that thing should be shifted over a little bit. In any case, you can see that we've got a list that has an open and close, and so all it knows is that these are lists of symbols. It's a token tree, and it doesn't interpret them in any way until it gets to this eval thing. So the parser is very simple. It's just data. It's kind of like Lisp, right? Specifically, it's kind of like this red language, right? Like you said, the red and Rebel are very similar. And in fact, this goes all the way back to a language called Logo. So if you do that, you get 1 plus 20. But if you say do that, then you get 20. You have to evaluate it. And so the blocks are inert by default. And in red, you can say A is 10, and then you can put in here do A plus 20, and now it interpolates that. But again, or it evaluates that, like it evaluates it in the current context. But by default, they're just inert lists of symbols. And so it's kind of like Lisp in that way, but it gives you a nicer, in my opinion, syntax, right? The Logo and Red and Rebel and all, they all do this. And implish is in that tradition as well as the other tradition. But Q not Q. Okay. What was I trying to say? Basically, I just want to fix some of this stuff where these commas are in here, because I want it to work like so rather than having to do this to get odd numbers, we can get rid of these. Okay. I was really just showing off the MCP server. I'm done with that. So let's say I want right now 10 times 2 plus 1 is the same as 21. I want it instead to, it's bang of 10 times 2 plus 1, and I want instead bang of 10 plus 2 plus 1, right? Fully parenthesize this, bang of 10 plus 2, so put that back over here. Oops. Come on. My cursor's not. Plus 1. So I want that. And so I'm going to put this into plan mode, and it's going to ask me questions. This is what I really like about Claude. So I've just told it what I want. It's not going to interview me. It's not going to do anything. It's going to ask me questions. So currently it's being, I want bang to blind tightly to its immediate argument so that yes, I should evaluate as this, giving you yes, 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 yes. Let me investigate how the evaluator currently handles this. Now it's reading its own code. And this can take, however long it takes. So while it runs, I usually go do something else. Work on some other thing. But I am, I guess, talking. Right. So anyway, so what I was getting at is that I like this process of vibe coding. So if you don't know, vibe coding means using one of these AI things and not really looking at the code that it generates. Because as you can see, it's not horrible, but especially on this small screen, you can't really see the structure of what's going on here. If you folded everything up, maybe it would be a little better. But basically, I just ask it for features I want in the language, and it generates them for me. And it's basically limiting itself to this one file, which is after it's parsed, after that token tree is parsed, what did we do with the tokens? Okay, so so this is the interview now. So you see at the bottom here, I can press left and right to switch between these tabs. So let's see what it said. Based on my investigation, I now understand the issue clearly. The evaluator currently calls modify noun after collecting arguments, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think I had actually started with some, I didn't understand, I wasn't clear in my mind how this language works, like how, this is not an array language, so we can't really do that, but like, if you say like, 2 plus 3 times 5 minus 7, that gives us 18, right? So that's, the reason that happens is because 2 plus 3 is 5 times 5 is 25 minus 7 is of course, normally in school you would do it like this, right? And then go left to right, and so that would be 10. Right, 17 plus. I want this left to right. I want this lack of precedence, but I also want. I haven't introduced. So we can say like count. It's been a while since I did. Well, even if I could make a list, I can't add like I can't add 2 to that list, right? Because it's not an array-oriented language. So I want an array-oriented language that has this feature. Okay, so the feature of these blocks, and it goes left to right. So QNIL gives me those 2 things. So it gives me the left. This is QNIL. It gives me the left to right. So it's count of 10 times 2 plus 1, but it doesn't have. It actually does have symbols, and you can do a lot with this. In fact, one of the first things is really QNIL is fairly good at symbolic programming. QNIL, but it's it doesn't run in a browser, and I'm doing this for a purpose, right? So I also want this this nice language that has this ability to just write text. So how do I say this? So this language itself also supports things like, like that's a URL, and if you say what is this, how you put that, the URL. So like there's a lot of things. It's not a string, right? It actually is the syntax itself is like very much like what I'm talking about here. It's like you have michael@gmail.com. That's not my email address, but what is that? That's an email address, right? It knows what it is. Whereas 2, 3, that's actually going to be the number 4, right? Because it evaluated them and discarded all the ones that it moved on to the next thing, right? It evaluated them one at a time, got to 4, and then that was the last one, so it's at 4. Right, so none of these languages have all the things I want, and I want to put them together so that I have something like that. I have. All right, anyway, we can go back to this and see what it asks. So, does this tighter binding apply to all monadic arity1 verbs or only specific ones like bang? And obviously, so I want that to be to all monadic verbs. This is not a specific verb. Tighter binding for all prefix verbs. How should dyadic 2 arity verbs? I knew this question was coming. This is good. Arity 2 verbs behave when used in prefix form. For example, should. All right, so I don't know the answers to these questions. I don't know, so I have to think about them. But Claude comes up with really good questions here. For example, should. So before I read the end of this question, I'm just going to see what that should do. To me, that is so. First of all, if we go to 4, say imp plus 2, 3 is right. So that's a strand, so you have to do that. That's why I introduced the comma to separate arguments to a function like that. If you had said a equals 2 and b equals 3, oops, then you could say plus ab, no problem. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bug. It should only be syntactic. This is a strand, but a and b is not a strand. Unlike APL, this is J style, A style. So So two juxtaposed names should not form a strand. Okay, so but I guess I haven't told it that. That's interesting, right? And then the commas are not they're parsed as part of the word, so that's a bug as well. No, they're not bugs. They're just like I haven't specified. I haven't told it that I want this, so it's just doing it the way it is. So it's not a bug. It's just it's a misfeature. All right. So what do I want here? So I want this to be 3 times. I want that to be 9. Plus 1, 2 times 3 is 9. Yes. So tight binding. I want this tight binding for all prefix verbs. That's the correct answer. Should infix operators themselves have a different precedence level? E.g., no, strictly left to right. Right. So yeah, it's asking me if I want to do other things. So yeah, I like this that it interviews like this. And you just pick the answers you want. You say submit. I have not answered all questions. I have keep left to right. Okay, now I've answered all. All right, so I submit my answers. I guess if maybe change the font slightly, I would have a different bolus maybe. Ubuntu. I don't have Ubuntu on. Okay, we'll do. All right, give it. We'll get some of these things use a lot of emojis. Ready to code. Okay, so what are we going to do? Create simple noun. Next noun, but without calling modify noun. I think modify noun goes, right side verb handling. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and auto accept the edits. Sometimes I watch it pretty closely, but sometimes I don't. Again, because I don't really care about this code. I don't care what it generates. I'm prototyping the language. I want to know what this language is like, right? I want to know what it feels like to use this language. Although I do care about whether it passes the tests. And some of these tests are obviously going to fail now because once it changes code, what is this? This is the agents file. You can rename some of these. Okay, so this is imp. This is the interpreter. This is vite. Is this shell? Join 4 here. Over. And we'll rename this to imp now. And this is claude. And then usually I have this is also imp. Get rid of that. All right. Yeah, you can say break. Screw that up. This is a bad video. I'm just kind of rambling. I didn't prepare anything here. Sorry. That's okay. I kind of just wanted to show this process of vibe coding. The main point is just, there we go, is that, you know, at least with this language, right? Because it doesn't have to go mess with the parser every time. Parser is done. It parses trees of tokens, and now it's just evaluating this thing. I can plug in. I can tell it what I want the language to do differently, and see what it does. And that just it's working out. In the language design department, it's like I don't want to just think through what the language might be. I want to like try it out and try and express things, try and read things to get a feel for it. All right, so at some point I'm going to do 2 things. One is, first thing I'm going to do is have it visualize this algorithm, like make a visualizer for it. And I think in the process of doing that, that will cause it to, you know, if I prompt it correctly, it'll cause it to like clean up the code quite a bit. Because I think which is the second thing I wanted to do, which is just like turn this into a basic it's using a stack, but the stack it's using is the parser, the TypeScript stack, the JavaScript stack. And I think it should be more of a like explicit stack that says, here, put some tokens on this stack, and tokens and values on the stack, and do the things as it's going along. Yes, that's correct. Not as two separate arguments. Okay, so I see now. So you have to watch it sometimes like this. So +1, 2 is absolutely going to be a partial application. You want that's +1, 2. That's not changing. You always use commas to break a strand. Anyway, you got to watch it. You don't have to watch it terribly closely, but if it goes off in a weird direction like that is not right, you can see it's starting to think the wrong thing. You just hit escape. And as it so now it's able to you can always run the code, but what it will do if you don't give it an MCP server like this, before I had the MCP server, it would like generate text, save it to a file, and then invoke the interpreter on it, like rebuild the interpreter, do all these things. And now I've got an MCP server that it made. You install it, and now it has the ability to run this code without asking for me for permission. Whereas otherwise, I have to write, like it wants to run bash script or. All right, so that worked. What do you mean all tests are passing? It didn't run the test. I don't believe all tests are passing. Oh, okay, that's what do you mean all tests? Did you change the tests? All right, so to run the test, we say normally say tanko test, but I don't think tanko's installed. All right, so we say UV. In this one, is it UV? Yeah. So there, I use UV, which is a Python thing. Tanko is also a Python thing. So UV run tanko test. See, and that right there, there's an example, which I couldn't think of earlier, of why I would want this. Why I would want this in parentheses. Or why would I want it the other way? I have GHC on here. Oops. GHCI. Yeah, I do. Okay. Print 2 plus 2. Oh, but that's not going to be I think it's put string, right? Put. I don't know the assay print. Yeah. Okay. That's exactly the same issue. Well, it's sort of the same issue because GHC has like this is Haskell, and it has a very complex hierarchy of symbols that have different precedence rules. Like every symbol can have a different precedence rule. So it does the traditional 2 times 2 plus 3 times 5 plus 7 is going to be 4. No, I was saying minus 74. Right. So that's 2 plus 15 minus 7. So 17 minus 7. So it has, so it knows that this is that in its world, this has more precedence than this. But you can also like invent, you know, you can make like this can probably be a operator in Haskell and define that. Say like, can you define it here? Int. So you would say like, wait, no, you can't do it. Okay, so yeah. But then there's some way you can define the precedence for this. Anyway, I don't want that. I don't want precedence rules. I want everything to be strictly left to right, at least for these expressions. I'm considering having a sort of small talky like hierarchy where you have 3 layers of things where you can say like Smalltalk has the notion of the top level has keyword arguments, so you can say like circle new you know, enter 2 at 3 or whatever. And so what this does, it goes left to right just like implish, but in Smalltalk, so you have circle, which is a class, find circle, it passes it the new message. Now you have a new circle, like an instance of the object, and it passes it center, and then this has, or these have higher precedence than this. So this it creates a new thing called 2, a new instance of the number 2. It passes it the message at, which is a binary. Anything that is that is not a alpha, like alpha is not a letter followed by alphanumeric and whatever, is going to be a what is that, a binary operator. So the binary operator gets executed before this. And I think if you say I think I want to say like negated or whatever, negative, maybe, whatever the word for negatives. I think that actually does -3 right there. I'm not entirely sure. I think that comes first. I think it's unary, binary, and then infix or a multifix. I'm not sure. But like the problem is that you say, whatever 2 at 3. This is not a good example, but so then now you can do what's called a cascade, and so then you say radius. So is 5 or whatever, and then you put a period to end it, and so this in Smalltalk, this ends the keyword system. Anyway, I'm not writing Smalltalk, but I kind of like that idea that for things that are objects or types or whatever, I might have something like this that is a dot center, and so that would be a message, the keyword message would be like that. Same thing. I don't know if the semicolon is going to end the message. I just I haven't gotten that far because I don't even have objects yet. I'm rambling. Oh, I see someone listening to me ramble. Hello. Anyway, so where was I? Claude has changed this thing. It says all the tests are passing, but I think it just made tests here, because when I run the tests, oh right, and then this one failed, and then it showed me what I wanted. So anyway, that's why I looked at Haskell, because Haskell has this operator to fix that, and I think that I want that operator. And that would be like, not really, like that would be syntax, right? So previously, up until now, up until I just made this change, right? If you had said echo 2 + 2, this is the live version, 2 + 2, right? Sorry, that's the live, that's that's updated in real time. That's running the code we just generated. But if we go to implish.org and we say echo 2 plus 2, right? So that we have a verb and we want to pass this in, right? All right, so the question is, like, okay, without that, without this behavior, we can say echo 2 plus 2. That works, and that will still work here. Let's go on this side. 2 plus 2. That'll still work. And in K, you could say, like, you know, in K, you could just say echo 2 plus 2 because it goes right to left. But I want it to go left to right, and so there are a couple options here. One is to say 2 plus 2 echo dot echo, right, which doesn't work yet, but that would be this. That would be another kind of method that is being passed to this thing. So that would say evaluate this, and then after you've evaluated it, echo it. There is echo 2 plus 2, which works now, as long as you put spaces there. And then if you put this, though, yeah, like it just, I mean, like this never bothered me. So I keep going back to denial because, like, we have echo here, print, show. Oh, come on. Put us. All right, so this is another nice way to use AI. Rather than searching for everything, we can just go to the dictionary. You can ask the browser, invading my privacy. I don't know if I like this, considering not having this. Is there a word? What word prints? Prints. Right. Okay, that's silly. So we say right 2 plus 2, and right 2 plus 3. Is that null plus 3? Okay, so right 2 returns null, and then we add 3, and that returns null. So yeah, this. So then the right way to do this in Neil is this, and I guess that's what I. Like I don't mind that, but like, you know, in K you can always stick stuff on the left without parentheses. That gets annoying. I kind of like that Echo does that, or that, you know, I liked that syntax that I had before. But like the problem with it is, here, like, so like, okay, so bang 10 times, again, times 2, that's 20, and that's not what I want. I want bang 10 times 20. So the comma fixes that. It fixes that problem. It's just weird. And so how do you do it now? You would say in sorry, I did not illustrate. I was again using bang 10 times 2 is this, whereas bang 10 times 2 should be gives you 20, right? Now put these side by side. This is old. This is new. and they both gave the same thing, right? Because the comma no longer does anything. What I meant to say. So now if I want this behavior, which is the same as like the echo case, right? I want to call a mode at, or you can say echo, right? And 10 times 2, right? I got nil, which is the same issue that we got here. The same behavior that we saw in the L. Hey, people watching me ramble about this. Right. So now I guess we just do this. Sorry, no, that's not right. Not right at all. So again, the brackets are like a quotation, and only the parentheses are evaluated. So basically, this is the price that we pay for not having to put these commas everywhere. Is that we can't do this, and then so red, on the other hand, is it echo? No, print, right? Put S. Show. Print. It's got to be print. Print 2. Yeah. Print 2 plus 2. Print 2 plus 3. So the way that works is that it has different parts of speech. Everything is left to right, but there is some precedence, and that is you can say type print. How do I find it? Print. Oh, I know how you do it. Say type, and then you have to get the word, right? To prevent it from executing, you have to say, yeah, okay, native, but function plus is an op. Anyway, so this is like a function and an op are different things, and they have different precedents, and each word has a different, part of speech attached to it, which is what I originally had. But I didn't have these parts of speech, and I didn't have, I didn't do this red thing where we say some things are an op and have to be infixed. Like this, I don't believe works at all, right? Because it expects an argument. You have to put it infixed. Whereas in Qnile, or Qnile, you can say plus 2, 3, and it works. Okay, but it doesn't work because those are two separate arguments. That would be this, 2, 3, and 4, right? So that's adding 4 to both 2 and 3. That works because this is something I don't like about Qnile. Is that the word plus, or the, you can actually write this as well, 2, 3, 4. Oh, right. That specifically expects a pair, but the reason you can do it with the word plus sign is that it's called, let me find the word they use for it. I don't really like this concept, but come on. Plus. The word plus is not. I don't want plus. I want the other. It's the same. Okay, so sum is pervasive, multi-pervasive. And no matter what you give it, you just say sum, and it sums like everything in that array. Which for the word sum is fine. For the word, but for the plus sign, I don't like that at all. Right. And I guess also the like when you say plus 2, 3, you are giving it one argument. And so when you say sum 2, 3, you say plus, right? They all work. But that's one argument, which I guess we can put it like there, plus. Whereas if you want 2 arguments, you say 2 plus 3. And you should be able to say 2 sum 3 here, which I think is weird, right? Because it can take, it's ambivalent, right? It can take either one argument or 2, and the word's ambivalent, but valent, right? It doesn't have 2 truths, it has two valences. I say ambivalent. I'm rambling. Anybody who's watching this wants to ask a question, feel free, because otherwise I'm off the rails here. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm still kind of going back and forth on this idea, but I think if I want people to actually use this language, this comma thing is like, I don't know. Like, okay, so this word right here, this is the old way of doing things on the like prior to this session. So you could say 2 plus 3 times 5 plus 7, right? So the commas sound the way you speak in English. So 2 plus 3 times 5, so 3 times 5 is 15, so that's 17 plus 7, right? 17 plus 7 is 24. And so, like, I like that. I like that you can talk like that. I don't necessarily like that you have to put the comma there everywhere, and I worry that it's going to be a mistake that people make, especially if, like, especially for that symbol and for this symbol. So -5. Say -5. Like, if you put -5 plus 10, that's going to be 5. But if you put -5 plus 10, what is that? Well, there's no concept of minus as a prefix function. Hey, I don't know if you're Davey or Dave. Probably Davey Hugh. If one were to want a relatively simple scripting language akin to Lua but focused on a multi-threaded code execution, how much time do you reckon it would take to implement it? One to 2 months, or more like half a year? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. What I would do is I would take the Lua code and I would run Claude on it, tell it run a init on it, and have it learn how to use Lua, and then I would add features to Lua. Right? I would just adopt it, because once you're trusting the AI, to manage the code, it's going to learn it way faster than you're going to learn the Lua code base. And I would imagine it would take a very short amount to add a feature to Lua. I don't know. Again, I don't know if you got the spiel here, but I'm not trusting this interpreter. I'm vibe coding this, because I don't care what the interpreter looks like right now. I'm probably going to throw this away and write one by hand once I understand what language I actually want. Right now, I'm just working on, thinking through the design of it and see if I like it or not. So yeah, I don't. But these things move fast. If you just ask it to make a Lua-like interpreter, it's probably going to generate something and just burn up credits until it's done. So I don't. It goes pretty fast, but you have to steer it. So you can go. The danger of going really fast is that you might go really fast off a cliff or something, and wind up with something out of control. Probably about even 6 months ago, when I used these coding agents, I would almost always, within a few days of coding, get into a point where like it made such a mess that like it couldn't fix. Like, I would ask it to fix something and it would just churn over and over again trying to fix the same bug, and I couldn't get it to fix the bug. And with the recent releases of Claude and Codex, open ChatGPT 5, they have a tool like this called Codex, and they just don't. I don't seem to be having that problem nearly as much. I don't know if it's because I got better at using it, but maybe that's a little bit. I strongly suspect it's because they're just much better at writing code and evaluating things. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm going back in my head to thinking about, do I really want to make this change? Because like if I do this, like if I'm making like an esoteric language, and I can point at it and say, hey, look at this weird language I made. Like some of the appeal of J. Like I use J. I've made videos about J. J is a cool language, and I actually use it for production work. But part of the appeal is that you can point to J and say, look at this crazy stuff I just typed on the screen. It looks like I just hit a bunch of random keys, and now I've got, something sensible on the screen. And like, I used to say, amaze your friends and enrage your enemies or frighten your enemies with J, because it's so weird looking. And that's like part of the appeal, is that it's so weird. And so introducing a weird feature like, these commas might be, I don't know. Yeah, Sonnet is way, way better. I don't know, like the other thing is you can just ask it to like write a Lisp interpreter or like some basic language. A basic language is Lisp fourth, something where the interpreter itself is just very tiny. And not much of a language to begin with, and then just add features to it. I don't know, but it's also, do you want a production style language? Yeah, I'm right. So to finish the thought, if I make an esoteric language, some people like languages that are weird just because they're weird and they want to try it out. On the other hand, do I want to live with this forever? Like, this is not annoying me yet. These commas are not annoying me. I'm still like, okay, they're kind of neat. I haven't reached a point where having to put the comma in annoys me, right? I just feel like if I wanted people to actually use it, they would be annoyed by these commas, right? And so the question is, do I want people to actually use this? I don't know the answer to that question. Like I'm making a language I want here. I don't have a strong preference on it. That's the thing. And like I kind of want it to work like Neil, because I know that I've actually used Neil for, I made stuff in it and it was pleasant. Right? This, I don't know if it's pleasant yet. I think what I should do is I should just not. I think I should defer this decision. What I'm getting at. So I'm going to defer this decision. That's it. I'm just gonna leave it as is. I'm just gonna roll back everything we've done, because it was cheap to make and I don't care. So we don't need this around. And maybe when I do have some concept of like method calls or whatever. See, the problem, the other problem is if I want to use this line, I'm over here. If I wanted to say like echo, right? So in Smalltalk, you would say like console or transcript. I think transcript write or something like that, and then you could say whatever you want to say, right? 2 plus that or whatever, and that would work because again, this has a higher precedence than this. So this message is going to be passed to transcript. The write message is going to be passed to transcript after this is evaluated. Right? And I like the syntax, and I like the colon at the end of the word. The problem is this is an assignment in implish. Although that may be a different problem. Like this guy right here, right? The name implish is that it is a play on the word imperative, right? So it's an imperative style language, and the logo is this little guy that I call an imp. But what you see here is some brackets, a semicolon. His body is a semicolon. His hands are brackets, and his eyes and his teeth form the colon equal operator from Pascal, which is the assignment operator. And so maybe, in fact, I think on the website, github.com, yeah, and it's from implish. One of the very first examples I made of this. Oh, I did use this. Huh, interesting. Well, I don't know. Like the idea with I definitely had that assignment. Like that was an assignment operator. You know, it's meant to be an imperative language that you can write proofs in, right? Like that's kind of the goal I'm getting at. I know that sounds weird. Like, you know, most proof languages are functional languages with like higher order, what do you call them? Dependent types, like lean. But there's this guy, Eric Henner, and he wrote this book called The Practical Theory of Programming. It starts with this concept. You have a program called OK, you've got assignment, although he uses, I believe, the same colon equals. You got sequences of assignments, and then you got if and while, and this is core of an imperative language. And then you can add functions and procedures and all that stuff on top of that. So like this is the core of his calculus, and he has like a whole system for doing proofs in imperative languages like that. And I really wanted to work on that. In fact, one of the reasons it does all the quoting and stuff is so that you can write code in languages like this. You can write this code inside of quotes and like, process those quotations and like do symbolic processing on the, the quoted text. I'm rambling again. That's not my immediate intent for writing. That's not the immediate thing that I'm trying to get at. But like that's always been like the core idea of this language. That, and it runs on this virtual machine that I was going to make. It doesn't now, but it it's intended to compile down to this virtual machine that is highly portable and runs everywhere. And I'm working on a piece of software that I intend to use this language in. I don't know that I intend to give this language to users to use it in, but you want to be able to write plugins. I eventually want users to write plugins, and I want to give them a choice between a very, very, very simple, straightforward Pascal-like language, JavaScript-like language, whatever, and then a wacky, complicated language. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not, because I don't know. I don't know what the. Again, I'm rambling. I don't know what my strongest motivation is. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to just make this. I'm going to roll back these changes. So yeah, I expected it to change only this one file. It did. gd imp eval. I had to make only a small amount of changes to do this. To switch to tighter binding. I'm going to roll it back. Let's git checkout. Git checkout. Not checkout. Checkout. I guess you can say reset or whatever. Restore. Okay, so that was fixing the precedence rules, which I have decided not to do. I have 2 bugs I want to fix, and we'll just let Claude fix that. So we're going to go back here. We're going to say new, or reset, or clear, or whatever, and that will make it forget about everything that it's done. And then we can say, okay, the input 0, 1 currently parses as a strand. but that is wrong. Strands should be purely syntactic. It's not. It's not the justification when I want to say juxtaposition. Juxtaposition. Am I saying that right? Of two values, of multiple values. Ah, no. Come back here. What happened there? Okay. Of two values, not just the, it's not the juxtaposition of two values, but two numeric token, but you know, I was gonna say multiple. I'm gonna change two to multiple. Of multiple value, symbolic values, but and I was going to be value uppercase, can be uppercase, no. Values, but rather the juxtaposition of tokens. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is a strand, but 1, 2, 3 is not. But the latter should just evaluate to two separate values, and usually the first is discarded or pursued as a argument to the function. Hey, what happened there? I changed the font and now the ASCII art is wrong. Settings. Change the font again. A good font. Julia Mano has a bunch of stuff. Okay. And I want to go into plan mode too, so it asks questions before it just starts to. Although this is pretty straightforward. See, they call it calls it creating a test. It calls it creating a test, but the test is just running a string in the MCP server. It's not actually creating what I would call a test, which is a thing that runs. All right, so I just changed it. Tactic. Okay. I'm not going to edit the code, but I'm going to edit the. I'm going to ask it to. What? Why is it doing that? Oh, I see, because it said I made an edit while in plan mode. Sorry, I'd already asked you to make the change before switching to. Just keep it. Let's go. The MCP server should be running the latest code. You shouldn't have to reset it. You may need to call reload, call the reload tool, but I don't think so. Right. See, so it's like we can just let it run. It's code it's generated was like more special case. It hasn't come up with a good we don't have a good design for what the parser should be, and so whatever was there, like it's just modifying things in place, and never gone back and like made a good design. And so right now it's like got things in multiple places. In fact, I might ask it to do some refactoring here after I check this in. All right, so let's run the test now again. So I've rolled back the UV tanko. Here, all this. Close. UV run tanko test. All test pass. And just to make sure, let's say imp, and then we had 2 plus 2, 3, 4, 5, which was somebody originally gave me. Right, this is what I expect. Yeah, exactly how I expect parsing to work. It reads them both and discards them. If I do this, what do I get? 2, 4, 5. I guess that's right. Oh, that's not right. This is a completely different issue. This is something I haven't told it what to do. So, okay, so let's... All right, and just what we should check, what it should know how to do is plus 0 and then 1, 2. Plus 0, 1, 2, yeah. Treats it like. If I say 0, 1, 2, 2, now I should, yes, that's right. That's what I want. And if I put a comma here, that should still work too. That's right. Okay. So let's see what it did. I guess this is not vibe coding if I look at what it did, but GD inf eval MTS. Yeah, I think that's probably way too much code. What probably ought to happen is that we have the base parser that parses the token tree, and then a second parser should come along and parse like the main dialect, and then build another parse tree out of that, rather than just trying to evaluate in place. Or it should be like a little stack-based thing that just looks at each token and does something with it, and not this. This is too complicated. But that's okay. Like I said, I'm probably going to throw this all away once I get the behavior. Git, so we say g -m, and we're going to commit. What have we changed here? We've changed fix strand, make strands. Let me test one more thing. So we have A is 1, B is 2, AB 1, 2. Okay, but oops. Okay, but so that failed. A is 1, A is 2, B is 3, plus A, B should be 5, not a what do you call it? A projection, not a projection, a partial application. No, it's projection. Because A and B are not syntactic, are not syntactically numbers. And so you ran it. So this is its notation. That should be a plus, but for whatever reason, it can't capture the plus. It actually runs the right way. So if you say plus AB, so this is captured 1, 2, and then you say 3, it does the right thing. What it thought was the right thing. And so, but this right here is this way of writing plus in this particular case. And that's, again, because the parser is weird, or the second parser, the evaluator, is weird. It wasn't able to do that without refactoring, and I haven't told it to refactor everything. What I'm probably going to do is, once this is ready, once this is working, I'm going to have it like give me the rules in the simplest way it can, and then I'm going to take those rules and turn them into code, right? So I'm going to turn them into a spec for what the evaluator should do. Because like it shouldn't be spreading this code all over the place. It should be looking at like first it should, the base parser, again, so we're writing a language, a notation for putting arbitrary data into structures. And the base parser does not necessarily know what it doesn't know what a strand is, because there are many languages that you might want to write that are not going to use the concept of a strand, right? Although if they don't have strands, then probably 2 space 3 space 4 is tactically bad. Like, it's a syntax error. Like, what language supports that? I don't know. Lisp, I guess. In which case you have a list of items. So, in which case it does what I'm talking about. So maybe and I guess, we saw red does it, but I might need to do this like sooner or later, because this is starting to get to the point where it's made such a mess that it can't fix this. Or like it's probably not going to, it's going to fix it by making the code messier and more. Does this example look right? Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Yes, that's right. Please put all those, please add those examples you just ran as a permanent test in input tests. That's interesting. You put the semicolons. It wants to separate them as statements. They're not necessary. I use a language called Lil quite a bit. My friend John made it. It's a language in Decker, a hypercard clone. And it also has this thing where it doesn't take semicolons. Or I guess Red also has that one. But when I try to write like nice code, like I want to put the semicolon. So I guess it's nice that they're optional. Okay. So plus AB. Undefined word B. That's not right. Oh, so there you actually do need that. Because otherwise, because they're the 2 and the plus A, right? That, and I think if I do this, right, that's 2 plus A, so 1 plus 3, and then B is 3. B. That's weird. Hmm. Yeah. So is this a case of something being ambiguous? No. Oh, that's interesting. That's very clear. Okay, so that says A is 1, B is 2. Calculate 2 plus A. Right. So this is happening. So B is 2, and then yeah, but B is still 2. That's weird. Very weird. I don't hate it. Okay. I don't hate that. Because like to me, syntactically, that's kind of what commas do in English. Like it, and it okay, right? So like this return 3, it did an assignment. But if I put this here, this is now going to say B is 3, and B is 3. But if I put the comma there, now the result is 3 and B is 2. I don't hate that. I'm gonna start making a list of like examples where the comma does something, right? So one of the examples is the first thing comma does is this. So if you're using multiple arguments and you don't want to use parentheses, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 4, 5, 6. This is going to add those together. And to what are those? This is two strands. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, this is not a bug. Wait, one more test. That doesn't work. We've lost. So did the test still pass? Run can go test. But we didn't change the interpreter. It's not. We didn't change the interpreter to follow the new rule, right? 10 times 2. This is. Why would it parse it that way? Echo 1, 2, 3. So we have two weird tests. More tests that don't yet work. More tests that don't yet work. Echo 1, 2, 3 should echo the strand as a whole, not echo 1 and return 2, 3. Okay, but fix the test. Okay, now fix. How to fix that? One thought I have is to add a new phase in between the base parser, the imp read, and the evaluator, imp eval, and what it would do is turn the is basically refine the token tree into a parse tree, basically. Can we completely parse anything? I don't think we can completely parse something because you can, because you don't, like, if you're defining words as you go, what am I trying to say? You don't know the arity of each word because you could be defining them on the fly. Is basically find the token tree. To include a new and one of for now, probably the only thing it does is introduce a new token type called strand, a new type, new. Well, what it does, it doesn't introduce a new type like that. Is select adjacent int tokens into a single ints token or node, and ints list, and likewise for and the same, and also do the same for nums and sims. Okay, so we're in plan mode with this, so let's see what that does. I think that'll simplify the code. It has quite a because it won't have to do this everywhere. It'll do it up front and just we've already got the types concept of a vector of numbers and a vector of symbols and a vector of, they're not really vectors. What they could do is they could be like binary structures that are like uints, unsigned int 32s or whatever. All right, so where did the code? Here's the plan. Yeah, that's basically what I just told it. Oh, it's giving me an option. Based on your suggestion, is option 1 is my suggestion. Yeah, next noun is like old concept. Yeah, so it wants to do what I said, so do it. I'm just gonna let it run. So I had previously had the concept of giving each word a part of speech, and I think we still do have that, or maybe we don't. I don't know. Emacs. That would be imp it out, or imp. No, that's it's in read. Oh, what is that? I forgot that we renamed read to load. So there was like a .v. We still have .v. Okay, so token types, word class, right? We have top, and sep, int. These are the ones, right? So imp is what it's called. Imp is the class I'm looking for. Where'd it come from? Oh, that's in core. Imp core. Normally, when I start reviewing the code, I have like I use PyCharm, and I have like all the navigation stuff here. I just closed it. I don't have it running at the moment as well. Yeah, so parts of speech, we had verbs, nouns, and then there was a concept of an op. And now I changed that, so an op is like what Red has, which allowed you to say echo 2 plus 3, because echo print 2 plus 3, because ops had higher precedence than this. And now I just have verbs. So I have built-in verbs and regular verbs, and then each verb has an arity. And that is why in implish you can now say plus 2, 3, plus 2, comma, because it's just a function. You can do that with any function. If a function takes 10 arguments, you can just whatever and you can also from Neil, whatever you say. This is Neil here. If you say XYZ is op and takes 3 arguments XYZ, we say x times y plus z. And then if we say 2xyz 3, 5, then I would expect that to be I would expect x to be 2, y to be 3, and z to be 5. That would be, going left to right, that would be 6 plus 5 is 11. But instead, so that is either one of two things is happening. Either it's parsing that as a strand and not as 2 separate arguments, which is valid. Or this doesn't work the way that the documentation says it does. Because what the documentation says for Neil is that a noun followed by a verb is function application or currying, and so this should have passed it to so this works and this works. wonder if you can say 2, 3, and then 5 over here. Nope. It only works for dyads. It doesn't work for higher arity functions. Anyway, so it does an implish. It will an implish. So if we do the same thing in implish, this is the released version. So we say x, or no, we say xyz is going to be, and coincidentally you can say x times y plus z. And the way this works is that these 3 variables are, you can only define functions up to 3 variables, right? And they have those argument names, and it looks at the inside and says, okay, well, he said z, so there must be 3 arguments. So that's how you write that here. And then if you say 2 xyz 3, 5, that should give me 11. Didn't, right? Interesting, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's supposed to be that. No, wait. Is that right? Hang on. That should have worked, but it didn't. Okay, that worked. Okay, that. Well, surely if you say x, y, x times y, right? Then this, then you do get, yeah, 2xy 3. That works. And if you say 2xy, you get a. This is a bug, because that's not supposed to work that way, and it wasn't supposed to work that way yesterday. So let's see what the live version does. Xy is x times y. We can just say this: 2 x times y 3. That works. Okay, so it doesn't. Did it work before? 2 x plus y 3. Doesn't matter if it's whatever. So that didn't work either. And x times y plus z. Huh. If you say plus 2, that, okay, so it's just not doing the prefix thing. 2 plus should bind the 2 to the left. It should be currying. As should this 2 plus, right? In Neil, but in Neil, it doesn't. Like you can say 2 plus is that, and that's fine. But if you just say it by itself, then it's not. It's Neil has 3 kinds of parts of speech. It has nouns, or it has arrays, and then operations, and then transformers. It's not. It doesn't have like a value of like a function is not a value. Whereas in implish it is. We don't have that hierarchy of like noun, verb, and adverb. So you should be able to return a verb from a expression. J also has that. Nouns, verbs, adverbs. K has that. Verb, adverbs. And then there's You don't have arbitrary higher order functions, and in implish you do. So that's like one of the main, or you will. So you should be able to do this. You should be able to say 2 plus and get a thing back. Okay, what's happened here? Try that again. That's some kind of error with talking to the. Try that again. All right, so reading what I just said, it's calling refine inline. So we don't want to be clear, so just we don't want to call refine over and over again about once in eval. Once on the argument eval, right? Currently being called an imp eval. You just remove that one. Once again, plus 2, 3 is always a partial application. That sounds correct. A is 2, B is 3, plus AB, 5. That test was correct. Please leave it. But plus 2, 3 should be plus 2, 3 a partial application. Reading this, yes, that looks right. Plus 2, 3, partial application. Rejection syntax, yes. 2 plus 3, yes, that's all right. All right, so all tests pass. 3, so 1 is 1. Here. That looks right. Show 1, 2, 3, that looks right. Show return to string echo insert. Okay, good. Good. Update the .org test to use show instead of echo. That's it. Right now, that's fine. Okay, so now let's run the test. UV run Panko test. Oh. No, UV run. What happened there? One plus 2 is 3 times 3 is 9 plus 5. Where's it getting 17 from? 1. One plus 2 is 3 times 3. It should be 14. What happened here? Not a pre-existing bug. It is a pre-existing bug. What? How can that happen? I've been running the come on, you gotta be kidding me. What is that? This can't happen. This cannot be happening. I'm looking at the live server here. Git log. That was the last thing I did. $14. $17. Oh, I ran git stash, but I didn't run. I don't have TSC watch running. So I was expecting that to I have Vite running, but I don't have TSC watch. I was expecting that to, like, recompile on the fly. Okay, so now let's try that again. Okay, so now after doing git stash, it's not. So let's git stash top. So it's not a pre-existing bug. I just ran git stash, tested, and it showed 14. So the bug is in the unstaged changes, and it looks like we're about to auto compact. So, you only have so much. Oh, you can't. Oh, yeah, you can. Right under my head here. Context left into auto compact. So it's going to. You only have so much space to work, and basically every time it sends a message, it's parsing the entire conversation. It might not actually send it to the server. It might be cached on the server, but you're paying for that entire context. And there's only so much. So the conversation fills up. So when that number hits 0, then it's going to spend a couple of seconds recompacting, shrink it down, which is why you normally type clear. There we go. 1 plus 2 times 3 is 9. Plus 2. That finishes, I'll type clear. Well, actually, I'll let it compact because it's still in the middle. Well, let's see. Control T. Control RT. We want to run the test again. TV 2 plus 2. Is correct. Wait. Not correct. And I rolled back the change that would have made this, so. And now Vite has recompiled that immediately, and I run the test again, and all the tests pass. All right, so let's compact it. But we want to leave the summary. We want it to remember what it did. Right? I don't have to explain to it what it's in the middle of doing. I like to keep changes, in general, I like to keep commits fairly small. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to stop all this. I'm going to clear all this. I'm going to discard everything. all the changes, which there are no changes. Git status list. Those changes. What's the So I want to keep the let claude run and inspect words in implish. And so I want claude. And then I'm going to discard those. So git restore imp eval imp So these are the rules I want to keep, and I'm going to reset that. So I would expect those tests to fail. UV run test. Right, that test fails, which is the new behavior. Okay, so what I want to tell it is to do this thing, is to do this. So this is a new test, Now I'm just going to tell it like this. I want strands to be a syntactic structure. AB should not ever be a strand, even if A and B are numbers. Only actual numeric literals are strands, form strands, or symbols combined to form strands. Right? Is that enough? No, that's not enough. First of all, let's put it in plan mode. Is that all I want to say? And to accomplish this, so this is what I want to get at. To accomplish this, I want to not collect strands inside the evaluator. I want to strip out the code in imp eval that currently collects strands, and instead, when eval is called, pre-parse the token tree, pre-parse or refine the token tree so that any sequence of int tokens becomes a single ints node, and likewise for sim and sim sims and nums. Is that clear? And now it's going to interview. Basically, rather than trying to figure out the mess it made, like we know what the answer is now, so just discard everything and go back and do it right first time. Let me use the plan agent. So it's got some kind of built-in plan. It may not interview me if it doesn't know what if it doesn't have questions. Like I gave it pretty clear instructions. Much less clear than I would have to give to a person. Okay, so should the pre-processing pass try to detect operators' verbs to avoid collecting strands across? All right, so here I'm going to type something. Oops. I move myself and then I forget to refocus them. Oh, type something. They have to be adjacent. Listen, if there's or in between them, then they're not adjacent. The only thing allowed between them is white space, including new lines. This is a break from K, but okay, so that's one. Where should this pre-processing happen? Separate refine function. It should be. It should also exposed so I need to modify something previous answer. Okay. But also because it's happening at the start of eval, it should only happen when it should only happen for the top level of a list that's being evaled. Oops. Should be exposed as a word so that you can refine a quote. Oh, right. I was briefly picturing that we had this. right? And then you could say do. But that's not what we do. This is going to evaluate by default, and then we will have a quote operator. So a quoted list, and see it turn into of int tokens and get the ints strand. Though I don't yet know how to show that. Because there's no syntactic, because there's no syntax other than whatever. Symbol, only backtick symbols. All right, let's see if it has follow-up questions. Okay, so what are we saying? Yes, that's right. So the only other thing I want to add is only other thing I want to make clear is that 1, 2, 3, comma 4, 5, 6. Sorry, I didn't hit my comma. Is 2 strands, and the show of adjacent strands needs to include the comma. That looks right. Yes. And while it's working, I'm going to delete. I was going to tell it that there's already a version of it. Imprifying. I'm just. I believe this plan works, and we're going to get a nice clean change here without breaking the test. Get a lot of dead air with this. I can pontificate or whatever. I'm probably going to wrap up the stream here a little bit. I did have 2 bugs. So I had 2 bugs here. One was that this eval doesn't, right? In fact, even eval 1 plus 2 in this is supposed to work, but instead what's happening is it returns an error. It returns 3, so there's an error type, which is like a question mark followed by like a symbol, right? A question mark. So instead of backtick something, it's question mark something, and it returns question mark 3. So it's weird that it returns the right answer, but it considers it an error. And then type in front of it, then it fails completely. But it works if you don't put the parentheses. The val by itself works just fine, but when you put parentheses around it, it's already fine. Well, this is replacing like the big part of the evaluator. So I wonder if higher order functions need a, like in J and in Neal and K, higher order functions have a higher precedence, a different part of speech. They're not verbs. Verbs and adverb junctions separated. In languages where you have functions as values, well, that's not true because K has functions as pass them around. You can make an array of functions in K. You can make an array of not functions in J, but it's called a gerund. Basically, it's a J structure called a atomic form, a gerund. Right? It can basically be decoded into a verb. So it's a noun, but pass it around, you can invoke it. Look at what happened here. Have the quoted strand. Expected number or vector got string. Oh, so it's saying, so load, show something. That produces some, but this is not being, there's no load here. So show is a string. So it's trying to load and then do all this, which is not how implish works. You have to put brackets around all this. Currently thinking that that maybe strand should be part of the original parser. Does it hurt anything to do that? So again, the idea is that this is a notation that can encode lots of different languages, many languages. I'm going to wrap up this screen. But I will wrap this up. I think, um, it's wrong about this caching the old version. MCP server is not caching the old version. So the yes updates the Claude file. Okay. So now we can also just tell it that because we know that. We'll know it next time. I'm just trying to read all this. I think it's just missing tooling to really inspect things. It's churning here. Oh, look at that. It's display might be from the latest build. State your problem. Because A comma B, because trips out set. Oh wow, ran out of money. Okay. Another reason to stop doing that. I'll put 25. What did this all cost me tonight? $10. That's for 38 minutes. So like I was expecting this to be a fairly small change, like after we had a plan now. So basically, nouns should be emitted in sequence. But if two nouns of the same kind are next to each other, they should be separated by commas. Basically, in show, so if we have so int needs two commas. Part of the problem is that this is at the symbol level, right? So it's like this comma is treated as a symbol that is in this list. So the list has 1, 2, 3, comma 4, 5, 6 side of it. And I'm trying to introduce this row that says this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That comma is being discarded by the evaluator. But I don't believe this. Doesn't seem right to me. This should be a list of 2 items. There should be a comma there. I think when you're testing for like kinds, you're not taking into account that int and ints should be the same kind. Likewise, sim and sims, num and nums. Because in the code up here, it looking at noun kind, but it's not. Oh, maybe it is. So it believes me, but I'm wrong. That's exactly the issue. Sep doesn't break adjacency. Yeah, I think we're getting into a territory where we've just made a mess and we need to like start over. I was hoping that just being able to put this, you know, the strand collector in there, so that it could work at the, what am I trying to say, at the like after the parser. But basically, the seps are, the separators are like saved in the parser, and you have a list that actually has separators in them. Like, separator is a value; it's like a symbol. The comma is there as a symbol, and I think that it needs to be syntax. And I think if it were syntax, ooh, there's not sufficient disk space to continue recording. Okay, well, fine. Out of disk space on my local machine, I will record. I need to have these recordings right. Good to know though. This is recorded through a terabyte drive. Right, do I actually have a failing test here? Like I noticed the problem. Like I noticed this problem, but I don't think the tests actually fail. How they fail? Because they're failing because it's outputting this temporary testing. I don't think this is going to resolve. It's all excited about there's the bug, but I think I should not be relying on steps red strand notation. I think what needs to happen is you need to like stop this. Say, well, you know, you're not going to fix. It's entirely possible that my requirements are. Like the whole notion of having SEP as a, you know, as a thing. All right, stop. Let's plan this out. Let's think this through. Does First of all, run these tests. See if that fails. Okay, okay, first, if we are printing a quoted list, do not do this comma insertion. Hey, I'm just doing a live stream. Yeah, I'll come get you. I'll be there. Okay, so with that fixed, this should no, still not working. Please try that again. Like I think that we need to. partially evaluate list and seek one strand, right? I suppose don't really now, but they should do this refine thing. Why is it not responding to me? This might be way too complicated. Or it's feeling very complicated. I feel like I'm turning. I just want to not break the test. Okay, so that works. That's because there's no reason your like kind thing is wrong. It's counting strings is putting them in the same category as backticked. That's not right. No. What is sim? Is it any word? That's right. There's like sim with a. It's always sim, but it has like a backtick. And I think we also have to tell it also only the rule isn't that any two things with the same kind need a comma. The rule is that specifically back-quoted symbols and numbers need commas. So quoted symbols that numbers commas when commas numbers and strands of numbers need commas between them, and symbols and single back tick symbols and sims need commas between them. Nothing else is commas. But your rule is that if the type is the kind is the same, put a comma. So two kind equal null items get commas. Don't do that. Only use commas for the types, specific types I mentioned. Look, it says in the This test is out of date. This needs to be fixed. This should have a comma in between. I have no idea what that. Okay, all the tests passed. What are you still trying to figure out? Said it was doing fine. So going back to a caching issue, but I think it's actually right this time. Can you please read the code MCP? Okay, clear. You don't want it to confuse these two issues. Please look at the code to imp and double check that it really does reload implish completely on every eval. Just spawn a child process. Spawn a child process. All right. So all of that was to deal with stranding. So use refine word to collect strands. I think this is it. Like, I think this is all I need to do here. I also think that eventually we're going to push. I think strands should go into the parser. Yeah, like I was trying to avoid, like, because this is a language that can have multiple because this is a language that can have multiple, it's a notation that can encode multiple languages, like XML, right? There's lots of different XML based languages. Red does the same thing. This is meant to have a lot of different mini languages in it, and you want to be able to read all of them. And I was worried that pushing the notion of strands into that language would cause a problem. But I don't think it does. Like, you just have to evaluate them differently. Strands is all it's saying is that there was a bunch of numbers separated by white space, and or a backtick symbol. So if you want to have like a Lisp interpreter that treats those as individual items, then just that's just part of your evaluation, right? Because if you're making a new language, like you have to tell it that length doesn't just look at each item, but it also sums the lengths of the vectors. If that makes any sense. If you had A 1 2 3 B in Lisp, that's 5 items. In implish, that's 3 items. A list, and B. So if you want to embed a Lisp-like language inside of implish and have A 1 2 3 B be 5 items, then it's still going to get parsed as a token, and you just in your Lisp evaluator change that. Okay. And for almost any other language, would not want, like most other languages don't syntactically allow numbers like that, unless there are already situations where you know like where it's flexible like this, like a logo or a red or whatever. Like red lets you say 1 space 2 dash space 3, but it just means 3. The 1 and 2 get discarded, so it's not really useful. Python, you can't do that at all. So I don't think it's a big deal to push this all the way into the parser and just say in this notation these things clump together when you put a list of numbers separate. I don't think that's a problem. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't think it's. We'll see. Yeah, anyway, so letting it finish fixing this MCP thing. I think that this is a good way to make too much better. You know, because like even though I'm dealing with this is a lot of people who don't like AI don't like slop. This is definitely slop in the sense that it's just generating a lot of messy code, and it is a, and I'm not like I'm tracking a lot of what's going on here, but I don't have a fine-grained idea of what's happening. I couldn't recreate the parser right. There's a lot of it I just don't understand. Not the parser, the value secondary part. Okay. Alright, so let's say MCP reconnect. Implish. Okay, I restarted the said successful. Okay. Okay, I restarted the MCP, reconnected the try doing this. Should fail. Then add a foo word in imp eval MTS. Then run eval foo12 again and see if it works. Take a single argument and return the symbol R. Yeah, tell it what to do. Right, that's what we want, undefined word foo. Got to relearn how to add the. Please make a note to yourself in claude.md on what you just, on the process you just learned about adding a word to implish because it's a common request. You shouldn't have to relearn that. So the worker will go to the fresh code. Also remove foo. Okay, so the MCP server should work. So gd imp MCP MTS. Right, so MCP server now on child process. Child process on child rather than reload, avoid cache issues. Okay, and then gd claude Claude, remember how to add words. Or, pre-learn how to add words. Okay, I'm done. Oh, we pushed that, so we should pull it here, and no, we want byte. I think you only need byte though. What? What is it, codex? I will do codex for a second here. First of all, am I in the... Codex is cheaper for me anywhere. Because I paid for a subscription, paying tokens, the API access. I probably should not. Anyway. I don't know what the project root is. Must be something defined here. Oh, I see. Somehow there's two dots here. And there just needs one. Why is this happening? Node. Ah, that's why. Node version manager. Use 2024. I think that's all. That's okay. I'm using not JavaScript eval, but implish eval, but probably it should be called. So I think this was the correct syntax for this version of Byte, for the latest version of Byte. Yeah, so now it's back. Okay, that's good. Okay. But okay, so I had one other question just for this. In the demo web page, okay, I had, let's clear that. You don't want to confuse the use it with two problems at once. in the demo page, are the predefined hard coded, or did it, like, what is X? Okay, so or just to be clear, I'm just curious about that. So this should now be, yeah. Oh no. No, yeah, that's right. Right. Previously with the parens it said 0, 1. Okay, so that's right. Good, and I knew that just by typing X. Okay. So P 10, 20. No, but actually I want 1, 2, 3 should give me 123. I'm kind of liking the comma thing. Because I don't hate the comma thing. Is there a better way to write odd numbers? Still 10 times 2. Like, it's just not hard for me to hit that comma there. Plus 1. But I also think you're going to do it a lot. What about this? Without the plus 1, is it? Yeah, so that's actually not good. I need to come up with a different solution. Like having to put the comma after everything, like that kind of defeats the purpose of going left to right. But I also like echo 2 plus 2. You know, Smalltalk has the notion that, like, what distinguishes the two cases, like this, versus basically the difference between this and this, or the thing that makes echo what am I trying to say? The difference is this is a word and this is a symbol, or, you know, the punctuation, not a symbol. But I think this should work. Times 2 plus 1. So that is something. So this is, would like this to work. Would like this to work, meaning give odd numbers. Okay, so this whole section is called, what am I calling this? This is the comma issue. Would like this to work. This one, what do I want? I want A, B2. I like that this works now. But I guess my proposal, and proposal does not break it. Even press it, can continue to work without after change. This won't break. Eager eval won't break. Issue. Should I? So the question is, should monadic verbs or should arguments be eager about? I want this to work. I like that this works now. I like that this works. Now how about this? That these work. And this one won't break. I won't break. Echo 2 plus 2 would break. I'm just trying to collect my thoughts on this is still a bug. Bug. Like this to work. I would like this to work. But this is okay. I would say current syntax is okay, but many, basically every and maybe that's not bad. Every new monad requires comments. And you want, and you really, and it would be nice right. So I guess red allows this because echo is a different type of word. Well, so right now prints now output 4 future output 2 return, it's going to return plus 2, which is a partially evaluated function. So it's a function. This is a weak case. This is a weak argument for this. Because like in any other language, you say echo, and you pass in 2 plus 2. Like parens are not bad. So that would evaluate it first, and then echo, this is syntactic, which would also evaluate it first. This is actually creating, you know, creates this and passes as a parameter. This is explicitly stating I'm taking parameter. It's subtle. This is a order of operations thing. Like they're different, but like this is not bad. Like normal how that. Most array languages that I use, J and K, they evaluate right to left. I really wanted this to be a left to right language. And I think that means that I'm going to wind up doing something. I should really work through like a list of, like I don't feel like I've accumulated enough arguments for it. I have always wondered why, you know, like I really liked working with Qnile, and I also like working with J and K. And of the two, I prefer the left to right. Like the left to right feels right to me. But it does give up a few things like this. If this is the only case I have for this, that's very weak. But I think what I should do is I should write like a full, like I should work through LearnTrist. LearnTrist being the test suite I made to make Tetris. Tetris like. And I should work through it with this syntax. See if it's going to bother me. I think I'm going to wind up with a lot of cases where I want to do chains, and I'm going to have to put a comma like everywhere. And I think it's going to be fairly rare that I make chains without a comma, right? Like, right? In theory, the other way you can write this is you say 1 plus, well, actually, it's up here. You can say 1 plus 2 times bang of 10. which I also like. Without this, this is going to be it's going to be 3 times. It's going to be multiples of 3. So you can write something very concise, and that's one character. We've added one character to make that happen. But you don't. There's no similar thing. Like with echo, there's no trick here. There's nothing you can do like that, because the trick was to put the answer. You know, here I moved the monad. The monad is the bang, right? It's one argument. I moved that to the right. Whereas with echo, you echo 2 plus 2. You can't do that. What's happening here right now is that this is evaluating all of this. You know, like as soon as it sees 2, it says, okay, but it's 2 modified by a binary operator, and it keeps snaking it. Like if I want to take this, so this one, if I go up to, and I want to show this, this is going to show 1, right? Vectored number or vector got string. Right, because it's saying 1 plus 2. Right, that's the error I'm getting. If I say show 1 plus 2, right, that works. If I say show bang of 3, that works, because they're 2 monads. But if I say 2 times this, that works. Again, because the monad is at the end. One monad is at the end. But if I do this, now I want to put the third thing in there, I can't do this. This is going to show me numbers again. Or multiples of 3 again. And if I put this here, now it's showing 1. So how do I fix this? Put brackets around. But that passed 2 arguments to show I need to do this. No, right. That's right. What am I doing? Oh, I can say show 1 comma see, you can always write that. You can always write 1, like list style, 1, and then so the next one will be times 2 because there's no what 2 comma. What's wrong with that? But what's wrong with that is that's being treated as maybe this needs to be plus 1 2 okay. I don't think that, yeah, so this can always work. This I guess that works. Required. I think this can be any separator. Have to be. So this is the Lisp style of use space here. I'm gonna get rid of the need for that space. I think anything that, because if you say like bang of X, like this is a kind of word. And I think it's gonna mean like something like dot X, like a method call, but like a, I don't know, like a different kind of method call, different precedence. I don't know. But but a bang of a number, a 2 is never going to be a number. So I think that, I mean, 2 is a number. 2 is never going to be like a method on an object. Anyway, this is the full syntax, or the fully banded AST style, like Lisp style, where you've got the, what do you call it, the something head normal form. So you can always do this, and you can always move things around like that. But I when I was doing this, like it's just inconvenient to put this 1 in here. And you can't do that, right? Although, maybe as an example, so currently this fails, this prints 1 currently, but maybe it shouldn't. Like maybe if you could put, like maybe if this worked, I would be happy with it. Maybe it shouldn't, because comma shouldn't separate arguments inside of a that is a job for semicolon. So if I fix this rule, then I could say current. Well, I would leave it like that. I wouldn't change anything, but I would just change what it means. You can't. Basically you can't use the one trick. See, a lot of it is, I'm finding that in language design, a lot of it is like if I wrote this in K, right, which is what I use at work, this is very natural to me, right? I would write this. This is how you write odd numbers in K. That's odd numbers. I don't use that particular version of K at work. In all dialects of K, that's how you write. How you would works the same. So this is natural to me, and having to put that comma there is annoying to me. But it could just be I'm not used to it because I'm used to K. But it's also interesting, like within these brackets, the semicolon also separates, it's two strands. In other words, you can always say, foo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But without the brackets, yet the idea is you say 1, 2, 3, comma 4, 5, 6. Or you can say foo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these should all mean the same thing. Apply foo to two strands. Because, okay, so this is, so we call this what, prefix form? This is a partial application. Oops. Partial application with syntax. Then there's also a 1, 2, 3, foo 4, 5, 6. Right? Infix form, partial application plus noun first is partial. Noun first is partial application. Explicit partial application. That syntax. And then explicit full application. Two arguments. But I guess I should write the other way of doing a partial application, which is foo 4, 5, 6 with a semicolon in front of it. 1, 2, 3. Explicit partial application skipping arg0. So this is something that K can do that like Haskell doesn't do. So Haskell language with currying, and basically the idea of currying is that that your function arguments in, like, say C, put them in parentheses and you put commas in between them because they're a tuple. With currying, instead of arguments A, B, C, X, Y, Z, you break that tuple of X, Y, Z into first a function that takes X and returns a function that takes C or B or Y, and then that returns a function that takes Z. So you have three separate functions, and so when you pass in the X, now you have a function, you've curried that first value. But in K, you do that this way. I guess. I'm not sure what the answer is. So I think it follows that from the rules that you can also do this. 4, 5, 6. Wait, what am I trying to say? This way. 4, 5, 6. No, I want 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another and this. This should also work. This is also partial application. Another partial application. I think that works. So we have xy, right? xyz. xyz is op xyz x times y plus z. I think we can say a 2 xyz 3 4 3 5. No. Well, I think we established that you can just not do this. You cannot use this form. You can do it with xy. Right, so xy is op xy x times y. So you can do 2xy 3. What can you do to x times x? So we can tell if this is which way it's going. So 2xy3 is 7, and 3xy2 is 11. Now, what is xy3 2? Ah. So you can say that and get that's currying, but this is not currying, or it's not partial application. So did I cover that case? So which one does Nile not have? Nile does not have this. Nile does not have. But Haskell has. Haskell has this, but it has the notion of infix versus mixed prefix, and so this put it in backticks, and that makes it in. So if you have a dyadic function in Haskell, you put it in backticks, and then so backtick foo backtick, and then 3 puts associates it as the right argument. Right? So you get this for free, but I think in implish with my rules that it doesn't matter which way you do this, because we said this is partial application. But I think this would be reasonable to fail. Would be reasonable for this to fail. Would be reasonable to fail. Would be reasonable for this to fail. Or it could carry the second argument, like I think you can do that in Haskell. Where did I have it? I had it on my, I didn't I? So you can say +3 here, and that's 5. Because it knows it's infix and it can curry that way. Because it knows it's infix, it can curry the right argument. Whereas if you say add AB equals A plus B, and then you said add 3 to 2, well, that doesn't help, does it? So it's the A times A plus F. So we'll say F3, 2, and F2, 3. But you can also say F, you can say 2F and 3. Right? No, you can't say that. But you can if you put it in ticks. And then you can say F3, 2, and that's also going to be 7. In J, you have this notion of reflexiveness that you put a tilde after F, and then you can swap the order of the function, or order of the arguments. Like we don't need all these different syntaxes, right? So maybe some of them could mean something. I don't know. Like this to me makes sense. These two we definitely want to have. Using comma as strand separator. I don't know if I necessarily want that. Like you can absolutely say because if you don't do that, you can always say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And like technically that's longer, but it's longer by 1 character because, and really you could, yeah, I guess that doesn't matter. You could do that too. Like you can't put that here, right? So that space has to be there. So it could, you're not losing anything with that by making it a a bracket. So you only have this 1 extra character. Like it's not, the point isn't golfing, right? Like the point is that it's not that I want to make it good for golfing. It's that like I want the default syntax to be nice, right? I don't know. All right. Well, I think I'm long past the point where I'm actually doing anything useful here for. Well, I'm just thinking what I might want this to be. So I'm going to put this somewhere else. I have it to refer to next time. Watch this. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll